We're in the shop today working on a Hyder Model B. So we were working on it a couple weeks ago and we decided that the transmission intermediate shaft where the sprockets go to drive the bull gears, the Babbitt in the bearings was too far worn to be reused. So we're going to be working on melting out the Babbitt and then pour the new bearings for both the top and the bottom. If you look here, you can see where the bearing is severely worn towards the back of the tractor. That will cause excess movement in the shaft and cause long-term problems down the road. The next step is that we're going to remove the original shaft and then we're going to use this as the dummy shaft for pouring the Babbitt, and these collars we'll use to stop the Babbitt from flowing out the edges of the bearing caps. I'd like to take a minute to talk about shop safety while working with Babbitt. When you're melting the Babbitt, it is not as dangerous as when you're pouring the Babbitt. When you're pouring the Babbitt, you want to make sure to have all your proper safety gear, including closed-toed shoes, safety glasses, a shield, welding gloves, long sleeve shirts, or long sleeve welding jackets. Do not ever wear shorts, and you want to make sure everything is tucked in properly so Babbitt does not get into any of your shoes or anything. Before we can pour the Babbitt for the new bottom bearing, we need to melt out the old Babbitt. When pouring Babbitt and melting the original Babbitt out, you want to make sure to clean out the locators, which retain the Babbitt from rotating and sliding in any position left or right. You want to make sure all those are clean so that there's not trapped oil or grease behind that, which will bubble and cause an explosion when pouring the new Babbitt. I'm using an acetylene torch and sooting up the shaft to cause the Babbitt not to stick to the dummy shaft. Here I'm using high temperature sealant to caulk around the openings and gaps so the Babbitt does not flow out in spots that we do not want it to be. I'm building up a small dam for the Babbitt to be a little bit higher when you pour it. Here we're heating the Babbitt to be molten. There's different ways to tell the temperature. I like to use a temperature gun and match the temperature of the Babbitt. Overheating can cause the elements to separate and cause layers in the Babbitt when you're heating it. You don't want this to happen because when you pour it, they don't mix back together, causing the Babbitt to be improper hardness. We're going to show you how to preheat the casting in preparation for pouring the Babbitt. It's very important to have the casting at the proper temperature and the Babbitt at the right temperature for when you're ready to pour. If you don't have the casting warm enough, there can be trapped water in there and it'll cause a slight explosion when the Babbitt is poured in and the water becomes trapped. It'll blow out, causing a kind of dangerous situation. Here we're going to remove the clay, which comes right off. Here we have a bearing that is cleaned up, the edges chamfered, and ready to pour the top half. I'm melting the Babbitt out of the top bearing cap so we can re-pour this as well. This is the cleaned up bearing half with all the Babbitt melted out, all the locating pins cleaned out, and the oil hole is also cleaned out. I'm setting the collars back to their previous position in order to capture as much Babbitt and reduce the amount of damming you have to do. I'm using 2 layers of cardboard, thin cardboard in this case, to use as shim material. Here I'm installing the bearing cap into position so I can start damming around the casting. I can take the bearing cap off and show you the Babbitt side. This was a good pour and will make a nice bearing. Next, we will cut the grease screws, drill the center hole for the oil passage, chamfer the leading and trailing edges, then we'll be ready to assemble. We will then pour the bearings on the opposite side of the tractor using the same process.
If you have questions or a topic you'd like to hear more about on Classic Tractor Fever's In the Shop, message it to us on Facebook or send us an email at info@classictractorstv.com and we'll do our best to share some answers.